So it's a story that didn't gain perhaps as much attention as you would have expected, but then again, there's been so much else going on politically here with an election around the corner, and then the story yesterday, of course, about census data from as far as language is concerned. But the province has decided, and this is interesting because I see this as kind of a double-edged sword. So it's a decision by Quebec to cut tuition fees for foreign students, and there are a lot of foreign students who come to Quebec. Mm-hmm. But the idea here is it only wants to cut those fees for students who pursue post-secondary studies in the province's outlying regions.
As in not in Montreal.
Exactly.
Because the vast majority of them do come to Montreal.
And want to come here.
Of course they do.
So the mayor's a bit concerned. So apparently are some of the universities. And so is the Montreal Chamber of Commerce. MICHEL LEBLANC is president of the Chamber of Commerce. He's on the line. MICHEL LEBLANC, thanks for your time today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I say this is a double-edged sword here because on the one hand, certainly you'd think it's a good idea for students from other countries to come here and discover some of the outlying regions in the province. It also means that maybe once they graduate, they decide to stay there. So that's good for the regions too. But at the same time, clearly it takes away from wanting to see Montreal and perhaps do the same here. So how do you address this? Where's the solution here?
Well, you're completely right. I mean, we all agree with the objective. Clearly, they have been concentrating themselves in Montreal over the years, and why not in Sherbrooke or why not in Chicoutimi? But at the same time, the gesture that the government chose is so significant. I mean, we're talking about fees that usually would be around $23,000 to $24,000. And now in the regions, and that includes Quebec City and Sherbrooke, it's in the range of $3,000 to $4,000. So it makes a huge difference. What we're saying is, let's work with universities in the Montreal area so that they can pursue and increase their numbers, because the growth in university students, the net growth comes from international students. The demographic shift, it's not only creating shortage on the labor market, it's creating shortage on the student market. So we need those students in Montreal. We should be able to increase the numbers, and it should happen also in the region. So perhaps we either diminish fees all over the place, or we make sure that universities within the Montreal area can get the same numbers or even increased numbers, and that means working with them. The government, I think, at this moment has to clarify its vision for Montreal universities and other parties as well.
Can I ask, does this apply? You said universities, so he said post-secondary. So CEGEPs would or would not be included in this?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It's universities. It's the CEGEP are already trying to attract foreign students, but the numbers are not the same at this moment. Okay. It's really aiming at universities. You're right.
So I'm wondering, does language play a role in this at all? Because obviously the schools outside of Montreal are French speaking. I'm wondering what kind of message this sends from the government.
Well, you're right. It's a different market. I mean, except for Bishop, everything that's outside of Montreal is on the French student market. Mind you, they are French students or students speaking French going to Concordia and McGill, but clearly the market for Concordia and McGill will not change. That is, foreign students that choose those universities is very unlikely to say, hey, I'm going to save a lot of money and going to Rouyn-Noranda. Mm-hmm. So from a university, an English language university in Montreal, the impact is less, which, again, if you're thinking about the need to make sure that we maintain a French presence on the island, you would say to the government in Quebec City, the CAQ government, do not weaken our French universities by reducing their capacity to attract foreign students, while clearly McGill and Concordia will continue to be able to attract students on their markets.
So why does it have to be either or, though, too? Why can't it be all of the above?
Well, we would choose the same decision, you and I. This is clearly what we think should happen. I think that the government wanted to send a bold signal that it's concerned about the availability of workforce in the regions, and it goes through partly attracting students in the regions and foreign students in the region. So I think that's what they looked initially for as a result, but I don't think they chose the right mechanism. And we had discussions a fish, behind doors with them, and they acknowledge it could be a problem. If you're Polytechnic, you want to be able to train engineers, and we need engineers. And Polytechnic could face a shortage of foreign students. It would impact on their revenues. It would also impact on the kind of quality of the exchanges. A foreign student is someone that comes with a background, a different background. Sometimes it's post-grad students, so they come already with certain training. So it's very good for the university community to have those foreign students.
I wonder, as I try to figure out how this works, where there's a middle ground here, Michel, I think to myself, well, okay, I'm guessing a lot of these foreign students, first of all, we know, comparatively speaking, it's pretty inexpensive, and I say that as a comparatively speaking, to get a university education here, very, as opposed to somewhere in the U.S., for example. So if the cost is still going to stay at that level, $20,000, $25,000 a year for foreign students now, not being subsidized by the government, they could probably afford to spend that and still be getting a good deal here. So are we worrying perhaps about nothing?
Well, we asked ourselves the same question. Clearly, if you are from a certain part of the world, money is still a real issue, and you don't want to say, okay, we'll just attract people whose family can afford, even if it's cheaper than the U.S., $24,000 a year living in Montreal. You can save $20,000 a year. So if you are on a 3-year course or 4-year course, it's about $60,000 if you get into debt. So I agree with you that we remain a great deal when you compare with U.S. universities. I think that we need more students. It's clear that, as I was saying, the increase in the number of students right now, the net increase comes from foreign students. And other major metropolis in North America, university cities, their increase in the number of foreign students is bigger than us. So they all increase. They increase faster. It doesn't make sense for us. We need them. They want to come. They would come to Montreal. Let's make sure we do not weaken Montreal while we're trying to strengthen the regions. This is the main message. Let's sit down. Let's look at the way to do that. And I think we can succeed.
I hate to say it this way, to put it this way. I think back to the decision made by the government here a while ago, not now, to force doctors, for example, graduating from university to go to the regions and offer them benefits there. And we know that resulted in people actually in that profession leaving the province because they didn't want to have that mandated. I wonder if this will end up creating the same kind of situation. I'm guessing if you're coming from a foreign country, chances are you want to come to Montreal, big city, you want to discover it. You're not looking to go to Chibougamau or Rouyn-Noranda. So I'm not sure that this is a solution at all. That maybe it drives people away as opposed to inviting them to come here.
Yeah, I would just say that we're not making it worse if you were planning to come to Montreal for the last 2 years and then suddenly it's cheaper in the regions. It doesn't change what you would have expected to pay in Montreal. So the notion that you would say, hey, I'm not even going to Montreal because they made that, I don't think it's going to happen. But what I'm afraid is that for some people, it will make a difference. These are not doctors with doctors' revenues. And my fear is that for some of them, and we could think students coming from Africa, from other areas, they'll just say, okay, well, it makes a big difference. I'm going to go to Université Laval. We're talking Quebec City. We're not talking Chibougamau here or Sherbrooke. And okay, it makes sense for Sherbrooke and Laval and Quebec, but it doesn't make sense for Montreal.
I'll tell you, more recently, it makes me think of Bill 96 and how this government operates. You don't need to take away from one group to benefit another. That's the frustrating thing. This seems to be the mentality, and it's not necessary.
Michel, do you have the sense the government is paying attention? You've met with them. Are they listening?
Yes, they're listening. What they're telling me is, Michel, you're jumping right from the start. Give us a few months and we'll see how it goes. And clearly, if there is a diminishing in enrollment in Montreal, we'll adjust. I'm saying, well, let's sit down now. Let's look now at the situation. Those foreign students, they want to plan ahead. They want to know where they're going to live. They discuss with their parents, everything. So why don't we sit down now? Now, of course, there is an election coming. So at this moment, I'm just saying to all parties, can you please clarify your vision on that? Can you please clarify what you would do if you would form the government? And then after the election, let's sit down right away and let's maybe adjust the tools. We agree on the objective, but it should not weaken Montreal at all.
Michel LeBlanc, president of Montreal's Chamber of Commerce. Michel, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.